This is journal entry 24 with guest co-host Ed. Enjoy. You're listening to Journaling with PT. I am your host, artist PT Russell. This is a podcast that highlights creative voices and emerging artists from all over the world. Today, my co-host, Ed, and I will be discussing our top 5 media snacks so far for 2024. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone. Today I got a surprise guest. Oh my goodness, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm so excited to introduce you to the legendary Francis Ford Coppola. I have him here today. Can you believe that? All right. Okay. Well, you would be listening to this. It'll be after the joke's really stale after April 1st. Today is April 1st here, so we're just having a little bit of fun. Okay, so April Fool's Day on you. But today, I have a co-host. I call him Judge Ed, but his name is Ed. And we will discuss our 5 favorite media snacks so far for 2024. What are media snacks, you may ask? Well, they are a variety of media we have consumed from different sources from January to now, April 1st, 2024. Welcome, Ed. Hi.
Hello. The pleasure of being here.
Okay, awesome. Awesome to have you. And how is the weather in Cornhusker State?
It's as gray as you could get as it gets. Um, at least the snow is finally behind us, but right now we're gonna go through. It's going through some rain, but actually it isn't that bad compared to what we had last week. This is actually really good.
Was that the area where they filmed Children of the Corn, or am I mistaken? This is somewhere else. Do you
I
know?
have to double check, but I wouldn't be surprised because we definitely have more than enough cornfields for any time. I wouldn't be surprised if Jeepers Creepers were shot here too. Honestly.
Yeah. To check on that to see what we can probably reenact in the future. Okay, well, I thought we should just slip kind of into like movie trailers. I don't know if you've seen any movie trailers, but one of the things I see circulating is this Godzilla versus, or not versus, sorry, X Kong. I've read in reviews and that are less than favorable. I mean, there's some diehard fans of both Kong and Godzilla who were excited to go and see this film, but I saw the trailer. It seemed exhilarating, but the reviews are not so exciting. Have you seen anything yet?
Um, I've seen bits and pieces. I try to go, especially when it comes to movies that I love, which is Godzilla
Mm,
movies. I try to go as blind as possible, but sometimes
mm,
my gets the best of me. But in all honesty, I think it's going to be a great film. I think the biggest weakness for a lot of the Godzilla films, at least Western side, is
mm,
that the human element is usually pretty weak, and that's what everybody always rags upon. Even the last one I watched, King of Monsters, I I was a bit shaky on it, but I still loved it at the end because just seeing one of my favorite slash I guess anti-heroes being on the big screen and getting such a huge treatment. Mind you, I still absolutely love the first one.
mhm.
Mainly, even though the first one I feel had the weakest of the cast when it comes to human players, I would I mean other than Bryan Cranston, I would definitely say I love especially the trailer and the build up for Godzilla because they definitely one thing must say when it comes to the US Godzilla, I mean, the newest one they made him into an element more than a monster. He feels like something akin to like a hurricane or a typhoon,
Mm,
like something that is, I would say, almost divine in some sense.
mhm.
Just every time. just anytime I watch the parachute jump scene, the Halo jump scene with the soldiers about to encounter Godzilla, that still gets my blood pumping even to this day. I don't found
Yeah.
anything to.
Well, yeah. So we'll see how it goes. I haven't even seen Godzilla minus one yet. I'm really behind in the Godzilla movies, but I'll get around to it eventually. The next trailer I'd seen a lot of that I'm really excited about was Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, I believe. And yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. I just saw. I don't know if it was. I don't think it was a sizzle reel. It was a trailer, but it was more like a little sneak peek. And they just had like it was just a lot of action. I don't know if the movie is going to be that way, but if it's any indication, I'm really excited to see it. I don't know about in the theater, so but because there's so many things coming out, right? You have to pick and choose because it's so expensive, right? Let's be honest. And so you have to pick and choose. And then of course the next thing would be Beetlejuice. And I'm
Oh,
sure you're a fan of that as well.
mm, yes, I am excited for Beetlejuice. One thing I liked about the trailer, I felt like it hasn't missed a beat from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, everybody. I mean, other than time, something that you really cannot control, it looks great so far.
Mm-hmm.
The the only thing I'm kind of worried
Mm-hmm.
is because I know Michael Keaton's going to bring it regardless. My biggest
Exactly.
worry, I just hope that they had enough practical effects. I know it'd be probably too much wishing for them to go back to stop motion. I wouldn't mind a mixture of the two, similar to like Kubo, like Studio Leica does. But
Mm-hmm.
be, I just hope it doesn't be too CG heavy because I think one of the most terrifying elements when it was scary is that everything looked like you could actually touch it. So
Yes.
yeah, I'm
Well,
excited.
yeah. Well, seeing him levitate, it looks kind of tangible to me.
Hmm.
And so I have hope, but I don't know what his world looks like, and I don't know what they're gonna do. And
Hmm.
Jenna Ortega is kind of trending from Wednesday, and Winona Ryder's back, looking great.
Hmm.
So it, I'm excited. I'm excited, and it's definitely something I would want to see in the theater. I mean, you have to pick and choose our battles, right? Because
Definitely.
again, you have to budget. Like, okay, what am I going to see?
Hmm.
Unfortunately, this is the time we live in. And then the last thing, the last trailer I would mention is the sequel to Mad Max Fury Road, and that's Furiosa. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes.
And yeah, I think it stars Chris Hemsworth and Anya Taylor Joy, among others. But that looks like fire, 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 just like the name implies. It looks like it's going to be a blast.
Hmm. No, I saw the trailer and I'm kind of torn in between it. The
Mm,
reason why I say I'm torn because in one part I'm glad to see another Mad Max film. I absolutely love the newest one. Even it had some issues, um, which I
mm,
kind of wish this sequel does. But I mean,
mm.
without going into too much,
Yeah.
just I'm excited to see Furiosa, but I would really hope that we finally would get a closing chapter to Mad Max because I
Mm,
think he's been wandering the desert for way too long. I think it's about. I don't mind him passing the torch to Furiosa, but I want to be able to see him finally find peace one way or another. That's my
mm.
big. That's why I'm kind of torn. I'm kind of excited to see Furiosa, but I would be more excited to see finally seeing the closing chapter for Max first before that. But beyond that, it looked like it's going to be great.
Yes.
See what
Uh,
happens.
yeah, what I like about the trailer, and this is just the trailer. I know the film follows suit, but it looks like a standalone film. It
Yeah.
doesn't look like it's meant to be like, okay, this is the sequel to, and we're following in the footsteps. So of course there's some elements that are similar, but it looks like it's something that's set apart to be fantastic. And I'm all in. I'm all in. All right, so we are going to list our top five media snacks. And we'll start with you, Ed, with your number five. What is your number five?
All right. Well, number five, and this is in no particular order. I would definitely say number five is Outlander.
Mm-hmm.
This is a show that really caught me by surprise. Something I watched in passing um, with my wife because she would watch it every day. and because of that, I would hear bits and pieces, and then the bits and pieces that I heard really, really attracted to me. So I finally bit the bullet, and I said I was going to watch it with her from the beginning, and I absolutely love it, which is
Mm.
strange because this type. Well, I mean, because when it comes to because Outlander, for those who don't know, it's a historical, I guess, a historical drama with fiction elements in it, of course, that follows the story of Claire Randall. She's a World War II combat World War II combat medic veteran who, with with her husband
Mhm.
Frank, they end up visiting Scotland. And when they got to this place called Everness, she ended up being mysteriously spirited away back 200, I think about 250 years back
Mm.
to back to the times where Scotland was actually about to declare open war with the British. But
Mm.
yeah, as I said, it's a downright amazing series. It's one
You
of my.
know,
Oh yes.
I started to watch that. I did.
Oh
I
yeah.
started to. I did. The cinematography is absolutely stunning,
Ex-
beautifully, painstakingly shot. It seems right,
yes.
but I got caught up in the Vampire Diaries, and I completely set that aside. That's what
Oh.
happened.
Uh.
Yeah, I watched season one, episode one, and I was stuck watching the rest of the seasons, and I just completely fell out of the loop from Outlander. But it is beautiful, remarkable production, and well written. The characters seem well written. There are some very racy scenes that I've seen, like I saw people's pubes and breasts all over the place, and whatever.
Oh,
Maybe a scrotum or two,
yeah.
but beside that, it was well done, well done, I must say. So that's an excellent pick for number five for you.
Yeah. I was about to say that.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, what I like about it, I mean, just to add upon your Vampire Diaries, that was the next thing that my wife loves to watch. It's, and she said that Outlander has taken Vampire Diaries spot, which is a very big take if you
Wow.
know anything about it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, going back, that's the one of the things I like about Outlander because it is a love story first and foremost, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't hold anything back to its era. And one of my favorite things is that their love is being tested. Because usually when you watch something, especially when it comes to a lot of modern love stories, they tend to make a lot of mountains out of molehills, which is
Mm-hmm.
okay. But when you are on, you know, once you leave this fifth theater, you'd be like, hey, I understand the drama. It's a little silly that they kind of stretch it, but it's okay. Outlander is completely different because this is a romance that is going against the elements, it's going against the time period that they were in, which is extremely harsh, especially for a modern woman at the
Mm-hmm.
time. She came from 1945, so imagine
Yeah.
that mentality going back to something it's almost medieval how it was. But yeah, as I said, the lead stars, I think how you pronounce the name, Katronia Balfe and Sam
Mm-hmm.
Hugan. They play, she plays as Claire Randall, Sam Hugan plays as James Fraser. They the chemistry between them is unbelievable.
It is amazing. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, that's what I've said. Like it's very harsh. It is
Mm.
something that uh, they have moments that'll make you turn your stomach, but I think it's worth keeping your eyes open and wholeheartedly worth it because then you definitely see how strong the metal is for the love that they have for each other. So I would highly recommend it. As I said, came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and so where is that? Where can people watch that? If anyone's interested in watching, where is it now? I haven't seen it.
Well, I know. I think the first 5 seasons are on Netflix,
Okay.
but after that, it looks like Stars acquired it.
What
So
the?
yeah, I mean, Stars
Okay.
has
Yeah,
always been
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah. So I'm glad that they continued it.
I mean, that's just weird to have just a portion on one network or streaming platform and then something, then the others elsewhere. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. That's why you can't beat physical. Like eventually, I'm gonna get
Mhm,
collection, so everything is gonna be together. But
mhm,
stars are always good when picking up some series stuff
mhm.
than others. I'm looking at you, Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Oh, sounds like fun.
But yes, you could be able to watch the first 5 seasons on Netflix. Then they have the rest coming on both Amazon and Stars. I believe the final season is actually coming out this summer in 2 parts, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
It's going to be a total of 8 seasons, and yeah, it's great. The whole journey from beginning to end was absolutely great. Like
Awesome.
even if it's lull areas, it's
Mhm.
just script. It was so good.
Wow. Well, there you have it. Number five for Ed, and my number five media snack I had this year would have been my interview with actor and director Mr. Daniel Roebuck. I recently had Daniel on the podcast. You would be listening to this probably weeks later, but he was just here last week, according from today, the recording. And it was definitely a highlight for 2024 for me. It took a while to process, just how extensive his filmography is.
Hmm.
I was like, wow, I've never seen anyone with this amount of credits, of acting credits in my life. I mean, that I've had encounter with, of course.
Yeah.
There are very few working actors today who can boast of such an accomplishment. That is my 5 cents. And he's such a generous person, very kind, very open, generous with his information, generous with taking the conversation to begin with, and just one of those people that I am just so blessed to have encountered. Character actors rarely get the accolades of their leading counterparts, and his credits range from television to film. Now, I don't know if you remember Matlock. That would have been, you would have been really young back then, but I remember, like, well, we're cousins, if for those who are listening. We're both descended from the Bahamas, so if you hear an accent, that's where it's from, and we're very proud of that. And we had an aunt who was a diehard Matlock fan,
Mm.
and Danny was in. Uh, let me be more formal. Daniel was was in. I'm getting I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Daniel was in Matlock, and of course, some of you may remember The Fugitive. He has, like I said, just a whole list of films that he would have been a part of in terms of contributing his acting prowess. So, Final Destination. I saw Final Destination recently. I didn't remember him in it as a character actor. You normally just remember the function, not necessarily the face.
Right.
But I connected the two together when I saw them recently, and he would have been one of the FBI agents in that film. They had a pretty big, part. Those two. There was two of them together. I forgot the name of the gentleman who would have been his partner.
Mm.
And of course, I saw Mr. Tony Todd was there too.
Yeah.
As he was an undertaker, right? Or a mortician, something like that, if I'm
That
not
would,
mistaken. What was he?
listen, I haven't watched Matlock in like forever. I still remember like I
No, no, no. I meant the Final
oh,
Destination Part
Final
One. Yeah, yeah.
Destination. Oh, I'll have to rewatch that again. It's such a long time, but I wouldn't be surprised that he
Hmm.
to take on Mortician because that's usually his role. Very.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, the Final Destination, it was like, I mean, I just saw it. I wanted to see some of the films that he was in during my research and whatnot, and I saw Final Destination. It was just like I was seeing it for again. It was a pretty good film. It
Yes.
was slasher. Of course, it's a slasher film with an invisible host. I mean, invisible predator.
Yeah.
So it's scary. That invisible pursuer is terrifying, and Daniel's contribution helped to make it a cult classic. Many people love that film. I enjoyed it. I didn't realize how truly embedded in pop culture he was until I had to research for the conversation. I was like, wow, he's in this, he's in this, he's in that, he's in the Monsters, Rob Zombie's remake of the Monsters. He plays Grandpa in that, and also Rob Zombie's Halloween Part Two. And of course, more recently, he has a whole slew of films that's in production, various stages. Lucky Louie, one of them has just been released,
Mm.
and and that was a hoot. And that is available for purchase on Amazon Prime. So that is my number five. Would be my interview and conversation with the very talented Mr. Daniel Roebuck. All right. So now we're on to your number four.
All right. Well, number four, it was a film that I always wanted to talk about. Another film that caught me completely by surprise. It's called Beyond the Black Rainbow. That it's directed by Panos Cosmatos. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Very weird name, but very mysterious sounding too. When I looked at when I watched this film, I immediately looked at his filmography. I did not know he helped with Tombstone.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but Beyond the Black Rainbow, it's a very visual heavy story. It's about it's basically about a I don't remember. It was about 1 second. Oh yeah, let me start from the top. It's about the Arboria Institute. It's very strange, but the whole thing takes in 1983. The
Mm,
film takes place in the Arboria Institute, which is this cutting edge enclosed community that
mm,
philosophy is all about trying to find that next level of happiness beyond normal human happiness that is constant. And the only way that he was trying to achieve this is through technology and drugs. Um, this was the dream of the leader, Dr. Mercurio Arboria. But but after that, the film takes place because that's just a brief intro. The film mainly takes place about 2 years later, if I'm not mistaken, where his successor, Dr. Barry Nile, is in charge. And right now, it's about him and his relationship with his captor, this mysterious woman named Eva Allen. Um, but
mm,
long story short, it's I wouldn't say it's like a cat and mouse game. It it's very as I say, it's very strange when it comes to portraying because it's kind of like a hostage situation, but it isn't.
mhm,
But as I said, it is a science fiction horror, has some of the best visuals I've I've ever seen in the film. Maybe
mm,
which is a high benchmark for me. The thing is, I any film that tells an interesting story and can manage to tell that without words, I think that's what really attracted me about Beyond the Black Rainbow is that the words feel more supplemental than essential.
mhm.
Yeah, the sound.
I've never heard of it until you you mentioned it. So I'm just listening.
But also, I'm sorry if I'm gushing on it.
No, no, no. That's beautiful. It's beautiful because, you know what? Science fiction and horror together, and if it's done well, I'm all in.
Yeah, yeah, but it's the lead actors. It's mainly three. It's Eva Allen, who plays Eva Allen. She plays as Eva Born. Oh, I got it mixed up. The thing is, they the lead and the star, the character that she plays have the same name somewhat. The star's name is Eva Allen. No, it's not
Mhm,
Eva Bourne, and she plays as Eva Allen.
mhm,
And then there's Michael J. Rogers, who is the antagonist, who plays as Dr. Barry Nile. Great actor. I've never seen an actor like him who plays somebody who is like secretly boiling under the surface. He nailed that so well. Um, um, as this somewhat narcissistic, just talk because he's torturing the girl the whole way through. But once you find a method to the madness, it kind of makes sense. And I would say the third important actor is Scott Hyland, who plays as Dr. Mercurio Arborio, which I absolutely love his voice. Like, if he has an excellent narration voice, it's very weathered, but also has this, like, what's a good word? Somewhat optimism. Like, I would advise anybody um,
Mm,
to see the trailer for it, mainly the opening where Obari is trying to sell you his institute and why you should enroll.
mm,
You, after watching that, you would probably be close to being completely sold if this was actually real, person to person. Because he has this very solemn but caring voice. But yeah, um,
mm.
I would definitely say give it a watch. I mean, I'm still a fledgling when it comes to like the technical part of film, but the framing, as I said, the colors, everything
Mm,
was amazing. The soundtrack by Sonoya Caves, which is actually a moniker used by, I think his name is Jeremy Schmidt. The music that he does is for the film is extremely good because
mm.
he focuses a lot on synth, on organ.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, it makes like this weird. It feels like something you would hear in the 70s.
oh, I'm sold. I'm
Yeah.
sold. And where can I or others see? Where can folks find it?
Um, I would definitely say Amazon. That's why I got it. I would say try it on
Prime for order, or is it up there?
um it
Do you
depends.
remember? Anyways, well, Amazon, they'll figure it out when they get there, and I'll figure it out when I get there.
Yeah,
But
I
okay,
think
good.
I was gonna say I think they have it on Shutter more it to be more accurate,
Oh,
but
okay.
I would definitely say watch it and give it a chance on the Blu. I mean, if you love it, pick it up on Blu-ray. As I said, some of the best visual storytelling I have ever seen. And I want to add one more thing, if that's
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, of course.
my. I think one of the most attractive things what I love about the film is very few films tried does a good job personifying evil. Usually, when you see evil in a horror, it's either something that is so grotesque, you're gonna run away from, or
Mm-hmm,
something that is highly deceptive, that will
mm-hmm,
before getting you into its clutches. I feel that there's a particular scene, I won't say anything about it, but it's somewhat of a transfiguration for one of the characters and how they portray the evil in that scene. It captures it because I always feel that evil is something that draws you in more with this curiosity. It's not quite beautiful,
mm-hmm.
but it it draws you in for you to try to learn more. And after that, you're pretty much encompassed into it. But yeah, the moment that it has the transfiguration moment, still, I think it's something that's unforgettable. But that's just me.
All right. Well, that remains to be seen. I'm going to look for it, and I hope folks who are listening, they take a chance and see what that's all about. So we'll move on to my number four,
Okay.
which is a film called Anatomy of a Fall. Now, recently at the uh, 2024 Oscars Academy Awards, it won for Best Original Screenplay. The screenplay is by Justine Triet and Arthur Harari, and the story begins with a family who experience a death. And the death, well, that's the basic premise of the film. Who done it, if you will. And there's this dog. I forgot that the breed that this particular dog is, and the most intelligent animal I've seen on screen. I'm serious. Step aside, Old Yeller. Who was the other dog's name? The Scooby Doo, whoever. This dog is the real deal. His name is Messy, is his name, and he plays Snoop in the film. And Lassie, that's what I meant to say. Lassie. Lassie was a border collie, I think. But this particular dog is something in the collie family. Brilliant, brilliant dog. And yeah, so they're investigating the death of a family member without giving away too much for those who haven't seen it. And that's the basic premise. But just the way this film was written is so immersive. It is really something to behold, something so seemingly mundane on the outside, but yet so captivating. Very simply done in terms of its production value and design, but the story, the use of, I can't even say the use of music because there isn't any diegetic music. There's
Mm.
no score. And that is very rare for a film today. And the absence of the music is what lends to the storytelling in a way that I've never seen before. And I've seen it 3 times already.
Huh.
It's very rare. I'll go and watch a drama. Let's be honest, 3 times. I had to watch it consecutively. I watched it one day, and I was like, "What the hell did I?" Let me I can wrap my brain around what's happening here and just all of the elements. But it was just to watch it. But I had to watch it again. I said, "Okay," just to see why I was so captivated. And so during the second watch, I was able to determine a few things, and one of those was the writing. The writing is superb. Obviously, they won for best screenplay, original screenplay. So it's an original story.
Hmm.
And yeah, so save for a few classical pieces played by their son, who I can say even in the trailers is blind, so we know that. That adds a lot. This child, he is, in terms of child actors, next to I think Anna Paquin, and there are a few others. Uh, I haven't seen a child performance like this in my life. Next, yeah, I'd say there are a couple. The young man who did Room, his name eludes me right now, but he was like 5 years old. He should have gotten something for that because he didn't act. But out of child actors, he's definitely at the top.
Mhm.
He is at the top because what he does with his lines, what he does with his physicality is amazing. And yeah, his Machado, I think is his surname. But anyways, IMDb, you can IMDb it, and all the information will be there. But anyway, there's this infectious instrumental version of "Pimp" by 50 Cents. Okay, and that song was banging. The way they used that song in that film, I was like, I couldn't get it out of my head. It's still in my head. I had to add it to my playlist because just the instrumental, the way it's used, right? They used that song in, I guess, the expository situations was
Mhm.
cleverly done. And this is the way this film is. I don't know. I heard that there was a much longer version. It's just an edited version. But my goodness, you have to see this film for those who haven't seen it yet. If you are a fan of film, a movie buff, and you've kind of said, "Oh, this looks kind of boring from the outside in," think again. Give Anatomy of a Fall a watch. It's on Prime, free. You have Prime, you have Amazon Prime, then you can watch Anatomy of a Fall. All right, moving right along. We're chugging right along. Your number 3, Ed?
Oh yes. Oh, before I jump into number three, I was going to say that I actually heard a bit of Anatomy of a Fall, especially when it comes to the award and the trailers, because
Mm-hmm.
trailer, a lot of the people said like the trailer doesn't do the film justice. Like the trailer's already good. You have to see the film. And now I definitely want to see it because, as I said, if they have a dog actor that's better than the one from the film, I definitely gonna have one of my favorite dogs ever in the film. So I definitely want to see it now. But anyway, that's number three.
Yes.
I've been. This is the first season, by the way. I've only watched the first season, but I really
Oh.
like it. It is Moonlighting.
Mm.
Moonlighting.
Classic TV.
Funny thing is, I didn't even realize this existed until, unfortunately, hearing the condition from of Bruce Willis. And once I heard, like, the things that he's going through, his family is going through, I said, you know what? Maybe this is a good time to see if I could go through his history to see his contributions to film, other than, me watching Die Hard for the umpteenth time. So
Mm-hmm.
heard that he was in Moonlighting. uh, and I gave it a watch and really really like it. To try to summarize what Moonlighting is about, it's a series starring Sybil Shepherd. She plays as the international supermodel Madeline Hayes. Well, pretty much she wakes up one morning and realizes the people who she has managing the money steals stolen all of it. She is completely broke, and the only way to keep her from going into bankruptcy and then keep somewhat of a remnant of a rich lifestyle, she has to start closing out her assets, which she's invested in. All of them being absolute failures. The biggest failure that she has is the City of Angels investigations. So she decided to make that number one on her list to close down to see if she could get money from that. And as she goes in, she meets the strange, charismatic David Addison, the boss, the lead detective, the boss of the whole outfit, who's played by Bruce Willis. And as I said, it's another show where the two's chemistry between each other is
Mm-hmm.
extremely powerful. But not only that, even the side characters that they have are all very memorable. One of them being my one of my favorite ones was Agnes the Pesto, who plays uh, this. She plays this Alice Beasley. This no, I got it mixed up. Her name is Alice Beasley. She plays as Agnes the Pesto. This very very strange secretary who loves to make up her own rhymes for the most part.
Sounds like
But yeah,
fun.
it's a great show. It's a great show because you seeing their budding relationship because Daniel, I mean David is trying his best to sell not only the notion of keeping the place open that she should end up being a partner to help him with his cases, and of course a bunch of funny capers ensue. It's a great show. It's a great show. Um, I would say like the only flaw I would say about it is that some of the mysteries at the time were shooting like way above its weight because it was
Mm,
trying to make every episode, especially like the first one, they tried to make it as this grand adventure similar to like Indiana Jones or something, and they didn't have a budget for it. when
right.
it's
Very
for
too ambitious for the budget.
yeah, it got too ambitious, but the cast and the writing still saves the show, still makes it a must watch, and iconic theme song sung by Al Jarreau. Once you hear it, it will never leave your playlist. And one of the funny things is that the person who did the music for it, what was his name? Alf Clausen. He did the music. He's right now currently doing the music for The Simpsons, and he actually helps with the soundtrack for Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Wow. Talented.
Yeah, but I would definitely say give it a watch. I mean, you get to see amazing actors. You get to see a lot of budding actors at the time. Like
Mhm.
uh, one of my favorite was it was on the second episode, gunfight at the So So Corral. It was starring Gary Graham as the antagonist, and I really liked him since I've seen him on Alien Nation. I don't know if anybody remember that.
Oh, that's a show, man.
I mean, I won't even talk about that because if I talk about that, that's another like 2 hours.
Yeah, we have to just talk about that exclusively, and the shows like that, the shows like V, and you know those classic sci-fi mashups.
But I would say definitely give it a watch because you get to see a lot of up and coming stars who are just trying to get their foothold in Hollywood, who end up being superstars.
Mm,
Um, I don't want to spoil what type of who stars that you see, but you're going to see a lot of familiar faces. As I
right.
said, it is really, really good. A bit nonsensical, but in a good way. I
Mm.
would highly recommend it.
And where can we watch?
Oh, well, right now they have the complete series on Hulu.
Mm.
Uh, I'm gonna tell you,
Us here
yeah.
in Canada don't have Hulu. Dur,
Oh,
dur, dur. So we'll have to find. Maybe
Ray,
yeah, find a.
oh, Blu-ray. I would definitely say pick it up for Blu-ray. I'm gonna just gonna add one little section so people don't be too disheartened. Unfortunately, the show didn't got a, a definitive ending because it got canceled before the final season, but it still ends on a great note. And I would definitely say it's still worth the watch, no question.
Well, I'm happy you chose the series because I personally, it's been a while since I've seen it. I did see it, I think it was on a DVD collection, and it was fun as usual. I believe it is an apt way to pay homage to the one of the smoothest action stars on the planet, Mr.
Hmm.
Bruce Willis. And so, yeah, his legacy continues to proliferate, yeah, with all of his amazing work. All right.
Very true.
So that is number three for you, Ed. I mean, we're moving through. So I'm on to my number three, which is uh, Handyman Part 3, otherwise known as Candyman Day of the Dead.
Cool.
And that is 1999.
Hmm.
Um, I know that, okay, yeah, they say Candyman, and then what's the other one? Good Farewell to the Flesh. And then everybody kind of dusts this under the rug. But
Right.
I enjoyed it. I watched it the other day because I'm kind of doing this deep dive into Tony Todd and his work. And this particular iteration did not get a theatrical release, unfortunately. I don't know why there's not enough love for this film. I enjoyed it, and it was met with less fanfare. However, I don't know um, why it didn't. I don't know the specifics of as why, because I'm looking as I looked at it, it felt similar. Of course, it's not the same thing, and I don't want to say it's diluted, but the production quality and value is not this quite the same, but the acting, my goodness, from Tony Todd, there's
Yep.
nothing lost there,
Hmm.
nothing lost. Uh, in my opinion, is just as terrifying as his predecessors. That's just my opinion in terms of production value and performance by the legendary Tony Todd as Daniel Robital. Yeah, he left nothing on the table, nothing. There is a scene. I won't speak about everything in its entirety, but there was a particular scene when he's introduced. Like we hear the musings and the rumblings of uh, of the Candyman and just images and flashes. But when he makes his, I won't say debut, but his entry, and he just comes floating down from the air with the hook and the trench that goes down to his ankle, and that look in his eyes and that darkness, and he has this particular nefarious smear, I'll call it, and
Hmm.
he just descending, be my victim. And it's like, God, this is the same candy. There's no difference,
Right.
right? I was like, I was equally as frightened with this. Other people call it a diluted version, but I would say it's a different version. It's another opportunity to see Candyman in action. And for me, that's great. Of course, they've had more recent remake, as far as I know, and I think Mr. Todd is in that as well.
Hmm.
But it follows Caroline and her quest to free herself from the clutches of Candyman, who would have been her ancestor. And of course, his enigmatic ethos continues with this particular iteration. Join me, be my victim. And then he opens up that coat like he's done in times before. Now, for someone who hasn't seen any of Candyman, I can't imagine anyone who's not seen even a glimpse of him. But if you haven't, then you definitely need to watch at least, start from the beginning. Start from the beginning if you've never heard of him, and give it a watch. It's worth it. This particular uh, part is available on, I believe I saw it on Tubi. Tubi is off the chain. I mean, Tubi is coming with all of the classics. I've seen Rain Man on Tubi. When Tubi first started, I was skeptical. I'm going to be honest. when,
So
when, when,
I thought, when I saw some of the Tubi originals, I was like, ah.
I don't think so. Right? But Tubi is growing so fast. We have to remember that Netflix started a little shady too, right?
That is true.
So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say shady in terms of from their perspective, in terms of from the public's perception, because we were used to, go into a Blockbuster or wherever, getting our videos that way. Like, here comes this guy saying, "Oh, you can rent it, mail in." Yeah, right. What are you going to do with my money? You know what I mean? So, but Netflix has grown to be, of course, what it is today.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tubi, I see Tubi really gaining ground, and they've changed their whole look. This isn't a Tubi. Tubi isn't sponsoring this, but it would be great if Tubi, sponsored me. That'd be great. Shout you out, shout you out. Um, but yeah, so it's grown. The titles are growing, and it's grown. And so,
Yeah.
to be redundant, when I'm saying it's grown in all capacities, the way the look, because it's now this purple and yellow logo, and there used to be something kind of nondescript. Just the whole interface
Right.
was kind of, I don't know, it's kind of spotty. It's like, I don't know, but now it's right there with everything else.
Yeah.
It's formatted a certain way. I saw Rain Man on there the other day. I've seen some other Steven Seagal movies are up there. So anyway, this is okay. So Tubi, hey, bring it on. Let's get this endorsement going. Okay. So anyway, Mr. Tony Todd is also busy with new projects. One of them happens to be a role in the aforementioned Daniel Roebuck's upcoming feature, Tuesday's Flu. When I saw him, I was like, oh, yes, because just his voice creeps me out. So I'm like, okay, I'm all in. So that is my number 3, Candyman, Day of the Dead, 1999. Check it out.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say Candyman. Uh, I can't remember which age I was, but I remember it was the two scariest things of that year was the prophecy. Like those films at the time, I I couldn't.
Prophecy wasn't scary.
What?
Christopher Walken is scary.
You don't think the prophecy is scary?
No.
You don't think?
Part 1?
I don't
Did
know.
part 1 have Russell Long in it? Or is that part 2?
I don't know. I think they had because I know the part one had Christopher Walken. And
Okay, because that's probably why I wasn't afraid. I was just busy looking at Russell Long. But anyway, moving right along.
but that's another show we could talk. I mean, movie talk.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Pre-apocalyptic films.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So we're moving up. We're moving on to your number 2.
All right. Number 2, I feel that this is probably the most well known from my list for sure. It is The X Files. Starring David Duchovny, Gillian Anderson, and mostly written but directed by Chris Carter. For those the few people on this planet who don't know what X Files is about, it's um, it's pretty much about the investigations of two FBI agents, David Duchovny playing as Fox Spooky Mulder, a, a um, brilliant at making criminal profiles, and has a huge chip on the shoulder due to his sister end up being kidnapped allegedly by aliens. And then he is paired up with a skeptic, Dana Scully, played by Gillian Anderson. She is a doctor in psychology and brilliant medical examiner. And once again, I'll keep saying it, and I'll keep saying it again. The chemistry between the two is what sold it. But compared to the other shows, the stories themselves are still extremely strong for them to stand on their own on its own 2 feet. Um, but yeah, I've only watched the first season. Another show that has some stars in it. Of course, it has Tony Todd for one of the episodes. I think he comes
Oh,
in season two, if
yes.
I'm not mistaken.
Anywhere there's horror, there's Tony Todd.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
synonymous.
Yeah, but for those who are trying to wonder how it's like a borderline between it's a borderline horror and science fiction. One of my favorite
Mm,
things that I love about X Files is that they do a lot of state trapping all over the United States, and while they're doing it, it's introducing you to a lot of the folklore that I didn't even know that happened. You know, things like the Jersey Devil, you know, of course, like Bigfoot, and other things like that. I think that's one of the great elements of the show, and also my you know, favorite episodes. I know this is probably another mainstream answer for anybody who watches X Files, but any episode that revolved around probably one of the creepiest antagonists on television, Eugene Toombs. Um,
yes, that freaking squeeze episode.
yeah,
Oh my goodness, gave me the creeps.
exactly.
That gave me the yeah. It took me a few years to recover from that monster of the week. He was the monster of the week. And I was like, this guy eats livers. I don't know. It's something about the writing. The writing was done in such a way, it was suspenseful and so visceral that could thought you could smell the bile from
No, I
the
agree.
liver.
The special effects, particularly,
Goodness. And the acting. This man became Tomes. What was the actor's name again? Anyways, I think that was episode like 3. It was very early in the
yeah,
season. And my goodness, squeeze. It took me a while to recover, but before I could even continue with the other episodes. But I was like, my goodness, is this how this is going to be? Because the lead up was fine, episodes 1 and 2, and then 3. Here comes this creepy guy. He's creeping in plumbing, for crying out loud. I was like, okay, anything's possible now.
yeah. And what really caught me about that episode is not only the premise, right, but one of the things that really I loved is the visual telling of his focus. Because once he see his target, nothing else matters. Everything is in black and white except for his target. His target is like in brilliant color, showing his intensity on wanting to kill this person. You know, as I said, great episode. I mean, it is one of the best, but I would honestly say that I haven't, after watching the first season, I haven't found a single episode where I feel like, all right, I feel like they, only went halfway with this. No, every episode in the first season was great. A lot of, a lot of role reversal, which I did like. Um, I would definitely say, as I said, it just had a lot of strange moments. Like another one was Lazarus. I would highly recommend watching that episode, and the
Mm-hmm.
music for it is great.
Mm-hmm.
It's done by Mark Snow, who
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know did the music for Smallville, and
Of
I'm like,
course. Come on, man.
no, that a lot of
Yeah.
worked on Smallville actually worked on X Files, which was kind of surprising. But yeah, the music for X Files is, I think, it's underrated. I wish they had a complete soundtrack collection for the first season, like kind of like what they did with Miami Vice. But
Oh yeah.
unfortunately, it's not available in its entirety. But as I said, like,
There may be a playlist on Spotify or something that's kind of
probably,
fan made.
yeah, yeah, that would, yeah, I'll have to hunt for that again. But yeah, every show, like every mystery, it could be its own movie, and then on top of that, the overarching story ends up even trumped in that. So, I, as I said, great show. Highly recommend it. And as I said, I'm only watching the first season. I'm gonna try to see if I could finish it this year. Hopefully, I mean, I think
Mm.
I have to fight with that now, Orlando, and then
Oh yeah.
another few series. But I would love to finish it because it is definitely worth it.
Yes. Okay. And X Files is available where?
Oh, X Files is available right now on Hulu. It used to be available on Netflix. I know. Hope it might end up being on Tubi. Who knows,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you check it out.
Yeah,
Tubi's got it going on.
yeah. Hope on Tubi.
Sponsor me. All right. Well, we're on to my number two,
Yes.
which is lighter fare than Candyman,
Mhm.
and it's a little mini series that I found to be so cute. It's called Iwaju, which translates to the future. It's in Yoruba. Yoruba is a language of Nigeria,
Oh,
and anyways, this particular show is animated and it's produced by Disney. So it's available on Disney Plus for anyone who's interested in checking it out. And directed by, okay, I'm going to botch his name. Just prepare for it. Olufayakeo Adiola. I got his surname. Okay, so that's what's important. Okay, we know who he is. It's set in futuristic Lagos, Nigeria, and it explores themes of class and trickery and bribery and the kinds of things that we encounter everywhere in life, even in families, right?
right.
So, anyway, I really appreciate Disney's addition of these new voices and diverse artistic expressions. You know, for them accepting and welcoming them into the fold. This is a very unique uh, animated series. I think it's like 6 to 8 episodes. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's only 6 episodes, and it follows the story of these really cute characters, colorful, vibrant. Everything is just an authentic display of cultural appropriation, as far as I'm concerned, and it's something I think that Disney's doing more and more of. So, hello Disney. Yes, I'm up for sponsorship as well. You and Tubi can have a fight over me. And so then, but it is, I don't want to give too much of it away, but it is well done. It was well done. And of course, the colors, the palette that was used in creating this show caught my attention. That's what caught my attention. I was like, okay, Waju. And I see the brown faces. I say, okay, these people look something like me. So that it's always gets my attention when I see more diverse characters that Disney produces shows with more diverse characters. Nana Waipu, Nana Waipu, I think was a Chinese. I saw that, and they're doing that more and more. Something that was, missing in action. We could say maybe a decade or two ago, but it's something that's becoming more and more prevalent, and I think it's great. So anyone interested in seeing Iwaju, give it a watch. I have to watch it again because I only watched that one time when it first came out, but I wanted to mention it because I was captivated by the colors and by the authenticity of the characters, the way they play them, like I said, all of the cultural and ethnic the diversity is present in it. Give it a shot, check it out, and see if you like it. Available on Disney Plus. So we're coming to the end of our list because Ed, now you have your number one.
All right.
If you haven't seen, sorry, I didn't give you a chance to comment on Owaju if you've seen the trailer or if you've seen something from it
Oh
or
yeah,
if you've watched it.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead with that first.
All right. Yeah, but yeah, I was about to say, yeah, I saw the trailer for it. It looks great. Like the thing is, it's good. Finally seeing something that's upbeat. Like because I
Mm-hmm.
know there's a lot of animated shows that come up, but I didn't see any that had the energy that I
Mm-hmm.
saw Waju. And like you say, it's great seeing a production coming straight from a different country, and it isn't diluted. You're getting to see the culture, and it's like full form. And I think
Yes.
yeah, as I said, we need more films like that that accentuates the best qualities of these of these several countries. And I definitely want to see Roger. As a fan of animation, and the voice acting sounded great too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, as I said, I have high hopes for it.
Yes. It another thing with that is the music. You can hear the music in the background, even in like in the town, the city, and the sounds in general, not just the score or the soundtrack, but the sounds are authentic. So they captured sound from these locales, which I think was a beautiful touch. If they'd done anything less, I would have been questioning, like, what's going on here? But
Yeah.
that added obviously to the authenticity of this show, capturing the sounds of the little buses, or the sounds of Lagos in general, and I appreciated that very, very much. So we're on to your number one.
All right. Yep. For number one, this is actually a revisit of one of my favorite book series ever created. Um, it's made by a married couple, Barb and JC Hendy. It is called the Noble Dead series. Um, I'll mainly be focusing on the first one, but right now I'm reading the second one because I already went through all three, and just for fun, I'm just going through it again because it's so great. But to give a brief synopsis of the story, it's a dark fantasy focusing on the relationship between Magier. Magier is this outcast who was being thrown out of a village for mysterious reasons, and she ended up befriending a pickpocketing elf, half blood elf by the name of Liesel, and his dog Chap. The story revolves around their mainly in the beginning they were just duping very superstitious villagers because this is dark fantasy, so this is in the realm of monsters, and of course they planting their own little traps and then rinsing them for all the rubles that they have. But of course, due to their antics, it ended up attracting the attention of the real monsters that bump in the night, vampires mainly. And and because of this, they eventually end up clashing against each other. Um, but yeah, it is a very great. It's a great it's a great story. So far, it's been a great saga. I've absolutely loved it. I love their writing style, where it is extremely descriptive, not
Mm,
quite to the level of something like Moby Dick, but it's so descriptive that
mm,
very little to the imagination, which I do love. And I also like the writing because the
mm,
speech itself seems modern. Uh,
mm,
However, it's not modern to the point where it takes you out of the story. It
mm,
makes sense. But yeah, it, as I said, the characters uh very three dimensional, including the villains. And the one thing I really like about it is that the books really do a good job of especially when it comes to the villains. It does a good job of making them sympathetic, but it never really justifies what they do, if that makes sense. The villains still
mm,
remain being villains
mm,
in this whole show, but they are very relatable villains, very charismatic. They have little things that you will find likable about them. And as
mm,
it, and it's always like the cat and mouse chases that they have, and they're telling of they're telling they're telling the scripting of the action scenes and stuff is
mm,
actually really well done too. But yeah, it's great because you get to see like their little nest egg grow. In the beginning it's
mm,
like this normal story, but when you pick up the next book, now they have a map showing you the vistas that they're going to be going through. Now the language that they're trying to
mm,
establish, the different languages. Now they pretty much have like little tutorials here and there for you to like get yourself acclimated on,
mm,
especially when it comes to their version of Elvin. But yeah,
mm.
it's a great story. As I said, right now I'm reading the first one, Dampier. Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a sexy name.
yeah.
Oh.
For people who, for the people who don't know what is a Dampier is a vampire. It's pretty much if you watch Blade, it's some person who's half a daywalker, half human,
Oh, okay, okay.
vampire. However, one of the great things I love about another standout thing I love about this book is that, you know, when it comes to create the dampier, it it tackles it in a more somewhat realistic approach, because how could some how could somebody have, create children when their body is already dead? The
Hmm.
explanation in this book.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. The what's the other thing? Uh, with Bella and Edward. What's
Yes.
that called again? Twilight. Like, what the hell happened there?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, how do you make this happen?
Yeah.
It just should be. It should be his whatever should be dust.
For the most part, yes. Yes, his supplies.
Anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Throw it away.
Yeah. But the thing is, this book does an excellent explanation on how it's done. Um, I don't want to spoil it, but as I said, it is a great book that I think will suck in anybody into it. A lot of people compare it to,
Suck in. I like that pun.
yeah. There's a few people who said it.
Vampires.
Of of what's the movie called again? I can't remember. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's like
Hmm.
Vampire Slayer in Lord of the Rings, which is somewhat accurate
Hmm.
of its description. But I know it sounds like a crazy combination, but hear me out. I do feel that the Hendy family has pulled it off. I would highly recommend giving it a read.
All right. So that's a series or a book of short stories. How is it set up?
Oh, it's a series.
That's a whole series.
It's a whole
Hmm.
series. I think it's at 6 books now. I'm gonna once I get my book storage expanded, I definitely want to continue and finish off the series because it's that intoxicating.
It sounds like it would make an interesting series for even television,
Oh
maybe
yeah,
animated, feature film, or series, something like that, something different.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
maybe I don't know. They could probably pull Ian Somerhalder out of retirement and let him. I don't want to say he's in retirement. Maybe have a role in that as well.
yeah.
But
Because
mhm.
I mean, I'm sorry, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No worries.
no, I was gonna say the thing is Ian Salmon Handler. When I saw him in V Ward,
Somerhalder.
hold it. I always get the word. I always
Yeah, that name is yeah. It's a mouthful.
Yeah, but yeah, he needs to get his justice. When I saw him on V Wars, I was absolutely loving the series, and then it just got canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I would like to see him have a role into it, and as I said,
Hmm.
in animated. I mean, if Netflix picks it up, they have.
Or his wife too. His wife is
Oh,
was in the Twilight series. Nikki Reed, I think. Is
yeah,
it Nikki Reed? And she's great. I mean, when you see them, you see a vampire couple. So let's bring them on.
yeah, but
Double for your pleasure.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
great. I would like to see him like in a like full blown villain role if he does. If they decide to make a series about it, I think one of the villains I already have in my head from the book. He would definitely fit in, but I could be wrong. He could be placed someplace else. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think would make it a
You
great.
know what I think will make a really cool vampire while we're talking about vampires?
Right.
Uh, uh, Michael Rosenbaum. I know he's Lex in Smallville or whatever, but I think with some prosthetics, he'd make a good vampire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He could have his hair or not. He could make a Nosferatu. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's coming out this year too. Moving right along to my number one before I get ahead of myself
Right.
is I read I read a couple of screenplays. I try to read as many of them per year as possible, and so I was kind of stuck between the Isle of Dogs and the Zone of Interest. But I decided to read through the Zone of Interest because it was a lot shorter. The Isle of Dogs reads more like a novel. So if you're ever interested in looking at the specifics, if you enjoyed that film, it's one of my favorite stop motion films. Then check out the Isle of Dogs. Just a shout out to that. But the Zone of Interest is 2023 is a historical drama written and directed by Jonathan Glazer, who won the Academy Award for Best International Film. So it's loosely based on the novel by Martin Amis about a commandant named Rudolf Haas and his wife. Hedwig, played by Sandra Hüller, whose name I didn't mention for Anatomy of the Fall. She also stars in that. I mean, this woman, she is something to behold. She is so full of talent. And who plays his wife. And it's about their life together with their family right outside of Auschwitz. They live just a regular, mundane life, seemingly. If you've seen any of the trailers, it seems like the kids are having their pool party, and meanwhile there's smoke from the crematorium coming over the wall. And so, you know, the juxtaposition of these two situations is something that I wasn't expecting. And of course, I haven't seen the film because the film isn't available yet. But for me, I think there's a fascination, and there's a very, very fascinating union of visual imagery and sound written that gives an expository context that's frightening. The way it is written, the story is written. I don't, like I said, I don't get all the cues because I don't have, there's no sound when you're reading, but it's written in a way to connote that it would something that's very suggestive of what's happening with what's happening across the wall, for example. And so for me, it was an interesting read. I read that continuously at no pausing because it is a very short screenplay. If you want to see it, it has like 78 pages, something like that. So I know that most of the imagery would have added they would have added with the cinematography, and obviously the sound design editing would have made this a really robust production. But I can't wait to actually see it. So I can't wait to actually see it, to see what all of these elements would they mean, because you know they extend a screenplay is just a basically it's a sketch of the film, and it just gives you a basic guideline, basic blueprints, and you have to read in between and see some screenwriters, they are very detailed. This one is not as detailed, but it's still written in a way where I get a sense of the story in its depth and its suspense, and also in its terror, because there's this underlying uh, with the minutia of them in their day to day, and that happening across there, and some scenes that are written and how they're written in, I can tell it's terrifying. I know that Steven Spielberg said something about it. He said that it was one of the most important films about the Holocaust since Schindler's List.
Oh,
And just him saying that, you know, he gave it his Steven Spielberg stamp of approval.
that's
And
a heck of a.
yeah, so, oh yeah, that says a lot. So I can't wait to get to get that. I don't know where it's coming first. If it's Netflix, if it's Amazon, whoever. Tubi, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm there. Hi, Tubi. Uh, so we've come to the end of our top five media snacks, and so in terms of trailers, have you seen anything on the Zone of Interest or heard anything?
Oh yeah, I actually saw the trailer. You and once I saw that, you could tell that something was underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I look at a lot of people's voices for it, and it was like, hey, like this trailer is only showing you like the tip of the iceberg, and
Mm-hmm.
now you describing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a fascinating film because I always love films that shows like especially something like this, which shows like how much fear has a nasty habit of making people tolerate the most inhumane things. And it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see how this family is coping to what's happening to them next door. But you know,
Well, I read it. It's in the subtext, and it that's the more sinister part of it because of because of how they deal with it,
I see.
and so that's written like it's very slow. It's almost like a slow burn the way it's written, very nonchalantly. But then that is the whole allure because it pretends to be one thing, or it tricks you into believing one thing, but then you know what's happening,
Right.
as you know what's happening, and so because of your knowledge of what is, then, for example, this is not a giveaway. If you hear a scream, oh, that's written in the script, and you say there's a scream, and then everyone's just around the dinner table, we can imagine why this. The imagination is what makes it so, uh, I guess, scary,
Right.
frightening, um, because your imagination is going racing. Okay, is that someone? This is happening to them, or the next could be happening. When you're in Auschwitz, that's a you know what Auschwitz is all about. It's
Yep.
a death camp.
Right.
People that they take people there to die. The only people they kept alive were people who were working, and this, it's just one of those things. But yeah, so we have come to the end of that. But before we wrap up, I wanted to do just a very short, because we've already extended our time past an hour. The movie forecast for 2024. Is there anything that you're looking forward to seeing?
Right now, that's a good question. Okay, I would say right now, not quite.
Hmm.
Um, I haven't really saw anything that really won me over. Like I had some interest with Dune too, but even then, like I don't know.
Dune 2 is out.
I know
You
that
can see it if you want.
that's the only one that kind of had my interest, but then again, it made me watch the original, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't watch the second one. But anyway, I mean, for David Lynch's version. But anyway, so far I haven't seen anything yet. But soon
Hmm.
as I do, I will definitely tell you, and I would love to share it.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything either, per se. But
Hmm.
everyone who's a fan of the legendary Francis Ford Coppola is anticipating his long awaited magnum opus
Mm.
called Megalopolis. Right?
Oh,
There's this magazine called Fandom Wire, and they reported that Francis recently had a screening of the film for over 300 of his close friends and family members and, I guess, colleagues. It was met with quite bizarre reviews, calling it baffling and bat beep crazy.
yeah,
So, which led many fans and supporters of his work into even more speculation about the commercial viability of this film.
right.
I'm just curious to see the grandeur and spectacle of this production, because I'm thinking in my head canon, Francis Ford Coppola, okay. Bram Stoker's Dracula meets Apocalypse meets the freaking Matrix, okay. That's what I'm thinking. So it's supposed, just the basic premise. This is a passion project of his for the last, these guys, they have these passion projects 40 years in the making, and then they grab Adam Driver and they said, okay, we'll be Ridley Scott, what's the other guy? Michael Mann for Ferrari, and now here is Francis Ford Coppola. But I'm interested and I'm excited to see what he does, because I mean he's a visionary, and I mean it could be, people want to say something that I'm not going to say. I refuse to say anything negative about this film, because this is a guy, a gentleman, a legendary icon of a director who is 80 plus years old. He used $120 million of his own money from his winery. Okay, he could have been just sipping on some vino, but now he's making this film.
Hmm.
And okay, and so that takes a lot of energy. I'm sure he has all kind of medical conditions and all sorts of things with his family, but this is, hey, give him some love and some support, and let's hope this is a success. Okay, so, and it's a stellar cast, all sorts of people. I mean, from John Voight. I mean, he has his detractors, and Forrest Whitaker, I think's in there. I'm thinking Dustin Hoffman. I mean, this is stellar. Come on, people like Aubrey Plaza. I think her name is Aubrey Plaza, and just on and on and on. So there's other people. So it seems like it has all of the ingredients, okay,
Right.
of something that can be legendary, like Apocalypse Now,
Mm.
just as well as it could be like I thought that about Babylon. Babylon was Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt. I mean, they were listing off all the names. Damien Chazelle, he did La La Land. I love that film. So I was like, oh, this is going to be a blast. The next thing I heard, but projectile vomit and all sorts of things, and then it was a complete flop.
Oh, whoa.
I'm not laughing because it was a flop. I'm laughing because it's like, okay, you just never know. And so, but for this film, I'm hoping for its success, as I did for Babylon, but it wasn't commercially successful, wasn't, critically successful. But, it's another project that he did. And, some things just don't pan out, even when it seems like you have all of the ingredients. So I'll end with that. We're looking forward to, with an optimistic foresight of the future for film, and hopefully you will be back and we can have another top 5 media snack entry.
Yeah. Once again, I thank you for being here, and also thank you for telling me more about Megalopolis, because I've heard like rumblings here and there, but I didn't know that it was coming out this year. So I'm definitely gonna keep my ear closer to the floor to see what developments come. But yeah, I'm gonna be excited for it, and once again, I'm happy to be able to talk to you about things that I love.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone who's listening, who've stayed with us this far. You rock. You're the real MVPs. We really appreciate your support. And you can find Ed. Is there somewhere that email address you want to share or no?
Not quite, not right now.
Oh, not yet. Okay. Well, if you want to contact him, you can contact me.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'll get a message to him. How's that? So ptrussell.com, reach out to me, and I will definitely reach out to Ed, Judge Ed. All right. Until next time, thank you, everyone. Appreciate you so much. Take care.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to Journaling with PT and a discussion about our top 5 media snacks so far for 2024 with guest co-host Ed. Please stay tuned for what's next. Contact me at journalingwithpt@gmail.com or ptrussell.com. If you want to get in contact with Ed, you can contact me and I'll get a message to him. Okay, thank you so much for your support. We truly appreciate it. All the very best to you and yours. And as always, please stay tuned.